Whoops.
Uh-oh! Good evening, one and all. Welcome along. It is season 4, episode 50. We've made it to 50, Paul.
So I think we're starting to feel that age, to be honest, rather than the actual episode number.
It's very true. So we're just in tonight for a short show. We decided you lovely people would like to see our faces, and as we can see, Joe is already, sending us the messages. There's Paul, clean shaven for you guys.
I wouldn't well.
Well, perfectly manicured.
I'll try my best.
There we go. So, look, as we said tonight, we're just going to have a short show. We'll probably be wrapped up in 25 minutes, half an hour, but we said we'd keep you guys up to date. And Joe with the killer comment there.
Yeah, we knew that was coming, Joe. We knew that was coming. Like, you're not the only one that's quite happy about it. Like, don't get me wrong, wish Kelly all the best. I hope he does well wherever he goes, which I think it's LA Chargers.
Los Angeles.
Yeah, so, and we played him this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it should be interesting, but whoever comes in, I just hope whoever becomes a new offensive coordinator, I really hope they don't treat players like friends and actually treat players like players and actually tell them what to actually do and and actually take more responsibility. So that's all I can hope for.
Yeah. And I mean, look, this was one of the things we said we were going to talk about in our preamble before we went live.
That's right.
And I mean, it's really the place to start. Sunday night, the NFC Championship game finishes, and boom, Jerry Jones does his thing.
The king of, I don't know what. He just knows how to be the party pooper. But yeah, that's what he is. Jerry Jones can be the king of the party poopers, pretty much. Just right when where the Eagles were just about to pretty much lift their trophy, blah blah blah. Who gives a crap? Jerry comes in, it's like, yep, boom. Kellen Moore's no longer with the Cowboys, and Twitter exploded within Cowboys Nation. It was chaotic. There was a lot of praise. There was some people saying, we've had 2 years statistically had one of the best on-field in 2 years in a row. Yes and no.
Yeah.
The no part is the consistency part, and that was the problem. And making really wild plays that never ever worked. Yeah. And I think that was the boiling point really for Mike McCarthy to really step in. And I'm glad Mike McCarthy is acting like a head coach. He's trying to make changes to really improve this football team. So I got to give McCarthy credit. And even for Jerry as well to kind of, it's like, because we all know like Kellen and Jerry, like that's one of, it's more Stephen Jones' quote, is like, that's one of our guys type of thing, you know? And yeah, we've actually managed to break the cycle with that. And we're no longer into there's no many Jason Garrett guys there anymore.
I don't think there's any at this stage.
I don't think there is. So,
and like,
I'm very interested though, Brian, who we're going to bring in as a new quarterback coach. That's what I'm very interested in. Not so much an offensive coordinator, but a QB coach. Because I want to see what a change and approach they're going to go towards Dak. Because obviously this is going to be a big transition year for Dak for next season.
Yeah, I mean, the name that came to my mind straight away, and we talked about, we mentioned this on Sunday night. Yeah. For me, if you want to get the best out of Dak Prescott, Dan Mullen is your guy. Whether he wants to leave his TV job is a whole other thing. And Joe's just said in the comments there. The other guy for me, John Kitna, absolutely. I would love to see John Kitna coming back.
Yeah, he's got a proven record as well with Kitna whenever he did coach. So I don't see why not. But whether McCarthy, he might have some names on his mind as well. So it's going to be a process like any other job right now. So I believe that the OC job is now under the Rooney rule. Is that correct?
I didn't hear anything about that yet.
Like, I'm pretty sure there was something that was mentioned. I can't remember if it was an article or it was a tweet to an article, but it was mentioned like because of the type of role it is as well. Like it can now go under the Rooney rule as well. So. So it'll be interesting to see who we do kind of bring in for interviews and stuff like that as well. So
yeah,
I'm excited actually. I'm quite excited of this aspect that we're coming into next season with a fresh new approach in terms of offense. More particular, like if we're going to be more having, and I think this is the key word we're going to have. Like if there's one thing we didn't have was an identity within our offense. Like, don't get me wrong, like Lamb had a great season or run a bit, but there was no clear identity within that offense. It was very wishy-washy.
Yeah.
Like it was all over the place. But yet we put points on the board. But if we were to get the ball rolling, we stuck to that game plan. But whenever things weren't working, it was like try this and try that and do this and do that. It was just like, what? Like, where's the game plan here? And that's again, that kind of goes back to I think that's why McCarthy decided, right, enough's enough. Like, I'm done with this experiment. I listened to Jerry. It's like, I know you want to keep him as your OC, but let me pick my guy I want as our OC, and let's see what we can do and try and get you that Super Bowl ring. So I'm all for it.
Yeah. And like, I'm just going to bring up Steve's comment here in a second, but I mean, the one thing that kept popping into my mind during the draft, it didn't seem to make a lot of sense to me. And Mike kept saying, no, I know what they're trying to do. I can understand what they're trying to do. They brought in a lot of big guys. They brought in a couple of tight ends. They were moving, and the linemen they were bringing in were deemed to be for the running game. And it seemed to just be a power struggle. I don't know if it was evident or not between Kellen Moore and Mike McCarthy that Kellen didn't seem to play the game the way Mike McCarthy wanted. And it brings us back round to Steve's questions, which, what are your thoughts on McCarthy calling the plays?
I don't mind. I don't mind. Like, he did it with Green Bay. So, and he kind of, like, obviously, like, he had a lot of good successful years. He was the one that was pretty much calling the plays during the whole Des Torret scenario. So, and looked how good Green Bay were during that season. So, I don't mind it. I think he's actually wants to. I think he, in a way, again, I'm gonna praise McCarthy for doing this because he's putting more of a target on his back by doing that.
Yeah,
like he's taking more responsibility, and that's a fact. Like, you don't want to just be a head coach and you become the OC at the same time calling plays.
Yeah.
So whether he'll stick to doing that and might want to bring someone in, we don't know. It's the ongoing mystery right now.
Yeah, like, I mean, I've heard that he's potentially looking at, I think it's the former Panthers passing game coordinator. He's looking at a quarterbacks coach, I think, who's with San Francisco right now. And he's looking at one of the offensive coaches from that team that we dare not mention.
See, I would not mind getting that guy from San Francisco, to be honest.
Yeah.
For the guy, what he's done for San Francisco to get four quarterbacks now.
Yeah.
Like, and still managed to get them into, like, don't get me wrong, who was the fourth quarterback that played against the Eagles?
Johnson.
The back was against this wall. Like, but I think for all things considering, with all the pressure and stuff like that, what more could they done? Really?
Yeah.
But for what he did with Brock Purdy was an exceptional job. I will give him credit. So if he can do anybody wonders with Mr. Irrelevant with a guy with very low expectations and actually play some like really safe, conservative passing game football, which it's not going to be the highlight reels, but it's going to put you points on the board and it's going to keep you alive when it comes to going into the next game by game basis, pretty much.
Yeah.
So I'm quite in favor. I like the idea of the guy from San Francisco. That'll be quite good. That would be quite interesting.
And like that, look, there's going to be other names that are going to be mentioned in the next few weeks. So, like ultimately, I think we've said this on the program many a time before, is that the first 15 to 20 plays are scripted. So that's work that's done between the head coach and the offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
So there's somewhere between 40 and 60 plays then that the offensive coordinator has got to pick over the course of a game. And that all depends on how the game is going, the rhythm of the game, what's working, what kind of a team you're playing. So I mean, if it's McCarthy that's going to be the de facto OC, you'd want to see possibly someone with a coming in with a kind of a West Coast offense.
Yes,
just to supplement that, say, run heavy game that McCarthy might want.
Yeah. I think for the pro style, I think the West Coast offense is probably the best suited for Dak, especially.
Yeah.
Like it's fair contribution all across both passing and offensive, and rushing as well. So I'm in favor of that. I'm not in favor of a college style offense that Kellen Moore did. Like, don't get me wrong, there was some place he did good, whatever in that, but overall, I just didn't think it for me personally, I just was not a fan of it. Even despite 2 years in a row we were ranked as a top offense, but it didn't feel like we were a top offense. That's the problem. It didn't feel like it. Like, we're feeling like a ton about feelings here. Jeez, oh.
Well, no, I mean, I think you're dead right in what you're saying, because for me, and you've said this consistently all year long, and I've said the word already, it's consistency. There's no consistency to the game plan. There's no consistency from game to game. There's no consistency in terms of style of play, anything like that. And that's the most frustrating thing, is because, what was it last year? I think we put up a couple of 50 burgers in our last 3 games and got blown out by the 49ers. We've put up a couple of big scores closing out the season and still got blown out by the 49ers again. So it's doing it against those better teams that will shut down the run.
I think another thing as well, and I made this point with Meg on the World's team, was it last week or the week before, about when you compare Kellen Moore to Scott Linehan, and how he utilized players, I think was a bit of a mistake. I think how we utilized Zeke in a way is try to convert him into that more power back style running back. Like, don't get me wrong, like Tony Pollard has been fantastic, and I still say Zeke is still a fundamental part of this team. I will say that to my grave. I think Zeke is one of the most important players in our team. I just don't think he's been utilized as correctly to what Kellen Moore had in mind utilizing him for. Like, whereas under Scott Linehan, into that more traditional type of offense, you actually get to see more of the best. You saw more, like, he was more effective under the running game under Linehan, and I never thought I would ever say that. Like, because if that's one thing we thought we were happy about, was getting rid of Scott Linehan, but we weren't too happy about appointing Kellen Moore up to OC. We weren't like we would rather had got someone from Mike McCarthy's side to bring in and just maybe even keep Kellen Moore as your QB coach or at the most, But it is what it is. So
it is, and like it's one of the worst things, Paul. And I know we kind of mentioned this. I think we were chatting about this privately enough on Sunday. The hate that was being directed at Kellen Moore by some, and I'm not blaming it. I'm not saying everybody.
It's unfair. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not a fan of him. But he's a nice guy. Like, he does not deserve actual hatred. Like, end of the day, like, people make mistakes at jobs.
Yeah,
but they don't deserve to be absolutely crucified and get the stacks, like the torch and pitchforks out. You know what I mean? So but it'll be very interesting to see how he goes outside of Dallas. I will say, if that's one thing, if history repeats itself, is when Dallas coaches leave Dallas, they tend to have a better career. And I'm quite curious to see what happens, actually.
Yeah. And it's the one thing that and again, I know we talked about this, is will there be a bit of revisionist history in a year's time or 2 years' time if the Chargers do go on and become a little bit successful? Will it be, why did we get rid of Kellen Moore? And what I'd like to remind people is how many people said, let's get rid of Moore, let's move on, it's time to go. So hopefully in 2 years there won't be, we made it. Look, you'd hope for his sake he has a successful career.
Yeah. I think with like a Moore, like this is also a learning curve for him. Yeah. Like he'll know what he has done wrong, and he might want to kind of approach this differently to his new job role, where like, if it is the Chargers. So, but I mean, wish him all the best. That's all we can really say, really. But the hate, like I said, is unjustified.
Yeah, and it is. Like the guy was doing his job. He lost his job. I think anyone trying to put the boots in, we rag on that team for their fans. Our own fans can sometimes be pretty damn harsh,
Well, we are the harshest critics of our own team than any other team in the NFL. It's because we do held us upside, held high to very high expectations every year, because we are the richest sports franchise in the world, not just in American football, but in all of sports.
Yeah,
we are the world's team. That is a fact. Not just America's team. And the players that we do have, we know on our best given day we can beat anyone, especially this season. Despite before the season started, we thought it was a goner season. We thought we would have been 8 and I don't know what the 8.
Hoping for a winning record.
Yeah, like we may be on the cusp of a winning record, because we were up against the Rams, the Bengals, the 2 Super Bowl teams. We didn't expect to beat those teams this year, not by a long shot. We didn't expect to beat the Vikings in the dominant fashion that we did. We didn't expect to beat who else? Philly.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, but there is games where that we should have won, and we didn't.
Yeah.
And that goes back to that magical word we've been talking about all year, is that consistency.
And like if we move on from Kellen Moore a little bit, I mean, he wasn't the only offensive. He wasn't the only coach who has left the building. I mean, Joe Philbin, Skip Peete, Gary Brown.
I'll be perfectly honest. I'm a bit surprised with Joe Philbin, to be honest, because he has improved. This year, like, don't get me wrong, there was still look, just in case anyone's wondering, Brian has a little bit of a sneeze. So if you hear a big sneeze, that's Brian. So don't. He's all good. But when it comes to Joe Philbin, I've been one of his harshest critics, probably of all of us, because obviously I used to play offensive line. I know what is expected. I've even coached the line for our women's team here in Scotland and stuff like that. And you have seen a gradual progression with Joe Philbin. Like 2021 was probably his worst season. As our offensive line coach, but this year he really did turn it up a bit. We managed to get that continuity, and look what's happened now. Tyler Biadasz is now an alternate into the Pro Bowl, and rightfully so. He deserves to. So, and Biadasz had a great season. Like and that's another thing we did not expect. It's like a lot of these players that are they really going to make it for the team, like in the long run? Steele, Biadasz? The answer is yes. The answer is yes.
Yeah.
So I'm quite surprised. But like I said, Brian, I'm just genuinely quite surprised about Joe Philbin. But again, I'm very intrigued to see who McCarthy will bring in this time for OC,
Yeah.
our offensive line coach.
Yeah.
Are we going to get that more Colombo type of coach, the one who's more focused on the run blocking? Like, if there's one thing that we did execute quite well was in pass blocking to a certain extent. Don't get me wrong, we were still guilty of penalties and stuff like that, but it was improved this year. There was a decline from the previous season. But a lot of those came from our rookie, Tyler Smith, which is fair. It's fair. You're a rookie. You're still learning the game. You're still learning. You can be a wee bit ultra aggressive. You're trying out there to try and prove your point, type of thing, and you might force yourself into a mistake, understandably. So hopefully, whoever we bring in can actually kind of like break down the foundations of the O-line in terms of blocking, footwork, technique, everything. So I'm all for
it. I'm going to get you salivating here, Paul. As a name for the offensive line coaching.
Okay.
Big Duke Manyweather. How about that?
Oh, mate, could you imagine? The guy that is responsible for Terrence Steele's growth and by Irish, I may add, that man single-handedly in this offseason elevated their careers.
Yep.
Just this offseason alone, just by training with Duke Manyweather this offseason. So I don't know if Duke wants to go into coaching like that. I think he's happy of actually bringing the colleges and getting them up to that pro ready.
Yeah.
Like getting ready to play in the pros and getting them back every offseason, increase their weight, their size, their strength, and their speed and everything when it comes to that certain position. So I don't know. I mean, I'm in favor of it, but in terms of like the playbook, in terms of the blocking scheme, how well does he adapt to that? Because obviously, whoever our OC or Mike McCarthy might want to outline in terms of the offense, that might not complement the offensive line coach in terms of blocking. Who knows? So I think it's more to find. We need to find a coach that does meet the criteria, but understands how our head coach and OC wants to execute those plays more importantly.
And like the one thing from the coaching changes that I've noticed is McCarthy asked a lot of his own guys. So obviously we've mentioned Joe Philbin.
Yeah.
George Edwards on as well.
As the stated thing though, if Kellen Moore, I know we keep jumping back and forth here, but if Kellen Moore was not going to be our OC, it would have been Joe Philbin. He would have been the OC.
Yeah.
But not many people remember that.
Yeah.
Because he still wanted to bring Joe Philbin on board in some type of coaching role, but he had him as his OC at Green Bay for a couple of years. And I thought that'd be the more logical choice. But that's what it is.
Yeah. Say la vie, and let's see what happens in the off season as the roles change. But I suppose, look, one of the other things we wanted to talk about, obviously, the divisional rounds the championship games have been played, and it is that team against the Chiefs in Super Bowl 57.
I will say, go Chiefs. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, go AFC.
Yeah, AFC all the way this time. Like, I just don't want to see Philly getting another one. Like,
I mean, we were all talking about this during the game. I mean, when is a catch anymore? Because on the very first drive, they were smart enough with this. They got moving quick enough. Devontae Smith dropped the ball.
Yeah.
And it was still given as a catch. And San Francisco didn't challenge.
They didn't have the time to actually try to take a breather and actually look to say, oh wait, hold on a minute, that was not a catch.
Yeah.
But not only just that, the referees completely missed at least 3 situations where Lane Johnson actually jumped offside in the line.
Yep.
Like, it was like you're talking about Lane Johnson's back foot kick steps back, and the ball's not even snapped yet. I mean, what in the hell was that?
Yeah.
So
very true.
And Hassan Reddick changed that game. As much as he really did. Like that collision went on to Brock Purdy like it changed the whole dynamic of that game so early on, and you just knew after that the Eagles had that game, unfortunately. But it is what it is.
Just flicking back here, Elizabeth has asked us a question in terms, is McCarthy passive in calling plays? I would say no.
I think he's a mixed bag, to be honest.
I'd say he's more aggressive than Kellen. It seemed to be, for me, that a lot of the fourth down calls that he went for were all stemming from McCarthy saying, let's go, let's move.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I would say he is aggressive and he can do it, but again, it's going to depend on if we bring in an OC who's let run it.
Yeah, I think that's a time will tell situation. I mean, it's going to be it could be any day till we might get an announcement who we might bring in. Who knows? It's just one of those ones we just need to keep alert on social media and the DallasCowboys.com stat like newswire pretty much and just to wait and see what happens, or NFL insiders like the Ian Rappaports and stuff like that. So we just need to kind of keep an eye out for whatever happens going forward. So, but yeah, interesting times ahead for next season.
Yeah, I'm just literally checking my phone here as we speak, Paul, because one of the names I suggested for OC is we can chalk them off the list. It looks like Sean Payton is going to the Broncos themselves, and the Saints are finalizing.
I do not want Sean. I would not even want Sean Payton as an OC.
Nope.
I would not want that. Like, so he's going to the Broncos.
Yeah. They're working on compensation now as we speak.
Wow. Okay.
So that's coming from Adam Schefter.
Wow. It's going to be very interesting to see what he does with Russell Wilson.
Here we go with the comment from Steve. He must be.
He must be, man. Well, don't forget, like coaching salaries is not part of the salary cap, so he could be getting paid pretty much more than most players that are in the roster right now.
Yeah,
like
as head coach, Elizabeth.
As head coach, yeah.
The Broncos head coach.
Wow, that is nuts. Like I would have thought, if anything, I would expect Peyton to maybe even go to the Texans to try and revive that franchise, but
I think
they're not as as much as the Texans can be a bit of a laughing stock. No offense, Houston, but you are. But they're not as dysfunctional after what's happened to Denver this year.
Like the Texans have a first-round pick this year.
Yeah, Broncos don't.
The Broncos mortgaged the house and the farm and everything else on Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson absolutely looks done for. Absolutely done for.
What would you say is the first priority on Sean Payton's list as head coach for the Broncos in terms of to try and help the team?
Get picks back. Get picks in. If that's asset strip and just go, do you know what? Russell Wilson, sorry, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Ring the Jets, ring the Tex and say, hey, we're prepared to move on from this guy. Give us something. Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, trade them away.
Randy Gregory.
There's another huge contract that they're, get out of it. And start rebuilding. Like, it's the one thing with Sean Payton, he will always try and build his trenches. He spent a lot of time in the last 5 years building up that offensive line in.
Yeah, because he got really, what was it, Cesar Ruiz or something?
Cesar Ruiz, yeah.
Yeah, he was, yeah. And there was the other guy, the center that he drafted in the first round. Oh, those were really good picks from Sean Payton. I will give him credit for that. So like he was reinvesting, like trying to protect Drew Brees at all times, pretty much. So I gotta give him credit for that. And he always seemed to manage to start find a gem of a wide receiver out of nowhere, like Michael Thomas when he was the guy. He was the guy at one point. So
18 months, Michael Thomas was the best receiver in the league.
Yeah, and it's crazy how things have changed, and it's the same with Alvin Kamara as well. Like he was a force as well, and he's went downhill. So it'd be very, like it's. I think it's the challenge that might be actually Peyton might be really intrigued by it, like the more impossible challenge.
Yeah,
fair play.
As you say, they might have backed up a Brinks truck into his yard.
Oh, fine, baby.
But looking at the other side of the championship games, once more another classic between the Chiefs and the Bengals. Joey B was there in the last minute, still with a chance.
Yeah, like at some point, I will say I think Joe Burrow will be a future Super Bowl champion at some point in his career. But if that's the way he's playing, he's taken to the Bengals now to 2 AFC Championship games, 1 Super Bowl, and he's only in his 3rd season.
Yeah,
and not to mention he was out for pretty much
for a season.
Yeah, his rookie year.
Yeah.
So for him to come back and do that with a depleted offensive line, don't get me wrong, they have recruited, but they haven't elevated to help protect Burrow, and Burrow's still out there gunslinging it. He's still throwing the ball out to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins.
T. Higgins,
yeah, and handing the ball to Joe Mixon. So he's a good quarterback. I will give him his due. And I think in the future, I think like some Burrow, he will be a Super Bowl champion, whether it's with the Bengals for the foreseeable future or some other team maybe in the future.
Yeah. I know a certain Mr. Jamie is watching in and he's screaming, "Get Joey B to Dallas."
Do you imagine the draft capital you would have to try and get him? Oh God! You would have to. It would literally be more than what's his name, the running back for the Saints. It was under Mike Ditka.
Ricky Williams.
Yeah, I think that would be even more than that to try. If any team, doesn't matter what position that you are, you would have to give up 2 years of all your draft for one player, pretty much.
Yeah,
that's the way. I find that's the way how they would have to do it.
Yeah. Like
yes, I like this comment from Joe. So Joe just made the comment saying Joe Burrow should be taught in the same category as Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers. I think so already. He's already kind of proved that. He's taking a team that always struggled in the playoff scenario. He's now taking them, like I said, to 2 AFC Championship games and now a Super Bowl from last year. And he's done a great job. Joe Burrow's done an exceptional job, and he likes having a good cigar after a win. So I can't complain with
that. Steve is saying there's no chance the Ohio boy leaves the Bengals. He went to LSU, Steve. And I'd say Dave Hellman is in his DMs every day. Please come to Dallas.
Oh yeah, I know my boy will be doing that for a get-go. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Even like I still remember when it was Dave Hellman's birthday one year, and he got a phone call from Leonard Fournette before the draft to wish him a happy birthday, and he tried to persuade him to come to Dallas, type of thing. Even though it was never going to happen because we already had Zeke. But playing with the idea was actually, I thought was quite funny. Like Dave has a big influence when it comes to LSU players. It really does.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing, Paul, that we said we'd have a quick little chat about. Obviously, look, we know there's 21 free agents, and we kind of said we'll pick out two players each and have a little chat about this.
Yeah,
of all of our free agents, I'm not talking about outside free agents, and Mike and the guys will go in a bit more depth in this over the next few weeks. Give me 2 players that you think have to be brought back and have to be re-signed.
Leighton Van Der Esch, number 1, without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah.
Like to me, like he's really proved to show how fundamental he's under Dan Quinn. Now that Dan Quinn's coming back, let's not forget that Dan Quinn is now coming back for another year, and he says he's got unfinished business. So that will light the fire. That will want to keep players staying in Dallas as well. And the way and it was very evident when LVE was not in amongst those games, we missed a gap in that linebacker core.
Yeah.
Like especially in the run defense. And that's one of our biggest Achilles this year was our run defense. Second one, I would you could it's a toss up between Hankins and the offer and like I said, like your Terrence Steele and like I will even say Conor McGovern. I will say that. But I would say more Terrence Steele because I think he's proved himself. He can be like I will say if Terrence Steele never got that injury this year, he'll be in the Pro Bowl easily.
Yeah,
as a right tackle. Maybe it may not be first choice, but he would have been an alternate for sure.
Yeah. I agree with your two picks. They will be the exact same for who I would bring back in that order. Obviously, I said we'd have to do different ones, so I'm going to say Jonathan Hankins,
right?
Because again, as you said, when himself and Leighton Van Der Esch were out, there was a huge problem. The run defense was not working. Teams were starting to run all over us. And you saw when they came back when in the
Tampa
wildcard round, 100%.
It was so evident. It was so like Hankins is a true 0-1 technique defensive tackle. Like he's not your free tech. And as much as it pains me to seeing some of the guys that are unlikely to come back, like my guy, I'm like everyone knows I love Neville Gallimore. I loved him back in college, loved him. It's just unfortunate he's never really went up to my expectations, especially like we saw glimpses of him in certain games, but I don't know from last year when he injured his elbow during preseason. I think that may have kind of not had a knock-on effect in his development a little bit. So,
yeah. Like Gallimore is going to be more a victim of a cap casualty rather than the undrafted free agents.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Yep.
In more breaking news, and it does seem to be the show tonight. That there is another head coaching appointment coming in. Steve has flagged it up here. D'Amico Ryans to the Texans, 6 years.
I have to say that's a good appointment actually for the Texans.
Yeah,
that's a good appointment.
For me, like there's been two outstanding of our position coaches, or coordinators. Eric Bieniemy, D'Amico Ryans. I don't know how they haven't got head coaching jobs before now.
Eric Bieniemy is number one. Like I don't know if he's just really happy in the situation where he's at, or he's promised the head coaching role after what's his name? Head coach
Andy Reid.
Andy Reid, there we go. How can I forget that? Big Andy Reid. Like I think once Andy Reid retires and that, then I'll be Ellie Bieniemy's job for guaranteed pretty much.
Yeah.
I think that's why he's kind of home because he wants to kind of stay and work with Mahomes pretty much. So because he's had interviews, he's just never really want to move away. Really, he's happy where he is. So, but he's one of the best OCs out there, and he will be a head coach at some point. We just don't know when. We just don't know when.
It kind of reminds me a little bit of Norv Turner, because Norv Turner loved working with Troy Aikman, absolutely loved it, and was always, I think, for 5 years he was interviewing and never left Dallas. And it only seemed to be a case once Jimmy left that he moved on.
Oh, we've actually got ourselves a good wee question for the future here. So thank you, Joseph Terrell, for the question. So let us bring it up on the screen. So he's asked us, who do you see us taking in the first 3 rounds of the draft? Are you talking like so? are we talking about positions or actual players? Because we're still kind of scouting who we're kind of looking at right now, so we don't really have many names yet because the season's just ended. So we're going to be Brian especially and Mike. They're going to do their extensive homework on all these college players. So, but positions wise, Brian, do you want to go first?
So for me, the three positions that we need: interior offensive line.
Yep.
We need a second cornerback. And I've said this for a long time. We need another edge. They're the three that I'm looking at.
Okay.
Because what I noticed at the end of the season was we tailed off. Our production from our edges tailed off because everyone knows who Tank is. Everyone knows who Micah is. And what's his name? The guy every year, Sam Williams. We didn't see enough of, so I'm not gonna kind of crap on him. But Lawrence Armstrong disappeared for the last 8-9 games of the season. Chauncey Goldston didn't get much activity,
but he did show late glimpses at the end of the season.
Yeah.
I think for me, like I think interior O-line is definitely my top of the list, but I would not be mad if we draft another wide receiver in the top 3. I would not be mad about that. Because obviously with Jalen Tolbert, it's not really kind of worked out so far, but there is still time. With Tolbert. I would like to bring back T.Y. Hilton if possible. We don't know the situation with our tight end is likely that Dalton Schultz is going to be gone, so we might look at tight end again potentially, or we might just stick to the whole Federshot duo. So, and who knows, we might actually draft another linebacker because that's still our lowest depth in the roster still. I think we've only got like 5 linebackers really.
Yeah, we do.
So, but I would not draft a running back. I know, and your guy is one of your guys from Texas as well, B. John Robinson. Like, if there's one, I will give Robinson his due. He is an explosive running back, 100%. But pass protection, no, absolutely not. He will get flatlined, and our good friend J Tuck did a really great breakdown of that. And I can't remember what game it was, but it was watching the
Kansas State.
Was it Kansas State? Yeah. He got absolutely blown up. I was like, for him to be a running back, especially if he's going in the first round, he needs to have every type of every attribute up to a good decent level. So
just gonna pull Joseph's comment here. TCU wide.
Quentin. Is it Quentin Johnston? I would take him in a heartbeat. 100%. 100%. If he's there, go for it. Why not?
And this is kind of the thing I was talking about with you last week, Paul. In terms of what we take, I think a lot of people got their knickers in a twist when Mel Kiper brought out his mock draft and had Bijan Robinson there. The Cowboys need to take the best player available.
Yeah, it's a BPA year, I think.
Yeah,
like it's worked out really well for us the past 2 years with Michael Parsons and CD Lamb. So it's worked out well. Sorry, 2 years prior. Like this year was definitely a need for a pick. Like, could we have gotten Tyler Smith if we traded back? We probably could have.
Probably.
But the 2 years prior to that, we picked the best 2 players available in that draft, and they have been exceptional for Dallas. So I don't see why we should change that. If our stunning wide receivers there at number 26, go for it. It's a monster of an interior O line there. Go for it. Whatever makes perfect sense.
And this is what I kind of have to keep reminding people is don't get hung up on the name. and going, oh my God, they're taking a running back. Oh, we can't do that. You can't build your board like that. You have to build your board and stack your players according to who is the best player. Because as we said, CD Lamb was he the fifth or the seventh player on their board in 2020. And he was still there at 17.
Well, no, he was the sixth wide receiver in terms like that got picked that year, I believe.
No, he was the first receiver taken.
No. What I mean, no, CD. No, there was other wide receivers were picked before him. There
CD was first wide receiver taken. I think.
No. Jared Judy was ahead of him. Henry Ruggs was picked before him. And Jamar
Chase was
the year after. Well, in fact, hold on. Let's just kind of go over that draft here. So,
I think you're right.
Yeah,
you are right in terms of Ruggs and Judy.
Yeah, so definitely. So let me just double check when we're looking at this. So wide receivers. So the first one was Henry Ruggs. Then it was Jerry Jeudy. Then it was CD Lamb at number 17. But Jerry had CD Lamb as the best player overall on his board.
Yeah.
Pretty much that year. And and players after that. That was a really good draft year for wide receivers because you had like Justin Jefferson in there, Brandon Ayuk was there. Then you had T. Higgins, Michael Pittman Jr. Those are good players. That was a good draft for wide receivers that year.
Yeah, it really was. Steve is saying here, always best player available. And like the one thing that I will kind of refer you back to, and it is a Brian Broaddus thing, is when he was in Green Bay, the general manager there always took the best player available. Mike McCarthy has come from that environment and should know that. And it's one thing we've always seen from Will McClay. He always tends to pick the best player available. So
and we're starting to see more of Will McClay being more of a bigger influence when it comes to the draft now. Jerry, don't get me wrong, CeeDee Lamb was definitely a Jerry pick, but at the same time, like you knew, like when McClay has done his research and it made it at the time, especially me, I didn't like the pick initially, but the more I actually thought about it, it made perfect sense. Now kind of looking retrospective about it, and McClay was like adamant, like him and Jerry and Stephen were very high on him. So but the Parsons one, wow, that was just that was a gift. That was a gift.
And don't forget, we traded down 2 spots and still got him.
I know. Do you imagine, like, it would be very hard to imagine Parsons with another team right now. It'd be very hard.
Yeah.
If that was if the scenario changed, the whole draft completely changed that year. Who knows what would have happened?
Yeah. As you say, Paul, it's a lottery.
It really is.
No.
It really is.
Because that was our 24-hour show, that draft.
Yeah. We are never doing that again. Never.
But everyone we spoke to was JC Horn or Patrick Surtain.
Yeah, that was the two names that everyone kept. Or what's the offensive tackle? Went to the Chargers. Rashawn Slater.
Rashawn Slater, yeah.
So those were the 3 everyone talked about.
Yeah.
And when someone mentioned Micah Parsons about that, I love that idea. But people say, "Oh, are we reaching? He took a year gap out, type of thing." That is basically throwing every excuse in the book not to pick Micah Parsons and that. But it's like, but have you watched this game film? It's like, I was like, if he can produce that for Dallas, he's definitely going to be an absolute superstar, and he's proven that 2 years in a row.
And I mean, I think on the day, the 2 people that went to bat for Micah Parsons were Mickey and Brad. Yeah. 2 guys who never agree on anything. They went for it.
Yeah. Mickey in particular, because he was like, I remember before we even drafted Parsons, he's like, hear me out. I think we will pick Micah Parsons. I was like, I like it. It's like, but how? Surely some team would pick him up before us. Nope. Because everyone was talking about, we should try and get Kyle Pitts. There was that one.
Yeah.
JC Horn, Patrick Surtain, Deshaun Slater. Those were the top. Those were the four guys that we were talking about mostly, who's going to be most likely to fall in our lap. Not like Michael Parsons was pretty much an afterthought at the time, but when you really kind of like process everything, what happens, like Parsons would be the best fit under our new defensive coordinator at the time. It's like start this new defense with a bang. And what more to do is that have that hybrid type of style defensive end, linebacker, and Micah Parsons. It made perfect sense.
And here's the thing. Dan Quinn saw the ability in Micah Parsons to rush the passer. Micah Parsons wasn't a DPR in college. He didn't tend to line up there at all. No. And look what you got out of him, you know.
Absolutely
crazy numbers.
But I'll tell you something though, Brian. I am very interested to see what we're going to do in the later rounds this year, because if that's one thing we've been really good at, and Will McClay in particular, we've got ourselves some bargains at the later rounds. Their own brand, like, man, where the hell did he come from?
I'm going to tell you this honestly, Paul. I didn't even know who Deron Bland was.
Neither
he
did
wasn't
I.
even on my board. And I read 2 days beforehand, watch out for Deron Bland. I think it was Rob Phillips was talking about him. And they mentioned he was one of the 30 visits. Watch out for this guy. And then we took him in the 5th round, wasn't it?
Yeah, 5th round. And also we picked up Damone Clark, LSU. And a guy that I'm very excited to see when he's got a full season packed up on him. Like, no one expected him to play one snap of football this year. Like, people thought he was going to be an IR all year, redshirted, whatever you want to call it. And he came on, and there's been a few games where he actually did start, and he looked fantastic. You would never thought he just went through major surgery, and he's back on the field already. So, And this guy, before the surgery, he was touted to be at least a 2nd rounder, at least.
Yeah.
So we got ourselves in our bargain with that. So I think there'll be another, like, depending this year, players might have a little bit of baggage or something like that. Who knows? They will probably fall down, and we might end up picking them up at a much cheaper rate.
I'm going to give everyone on the show a tip. Watch out for Devin Harper next year. So Devin Harper was one of the best players on the Oklahoma State team for 2-3 years playing at linebacker. The Cowboys drafted him and basically redshirted him for 2022. They knew they weren't going to get production out of him as well. And I'd say watch out for him in preseason, watch what he's doing, and watch for an impact from him.
The guy I've been looking at right now, and I can't freaking remember his name, is the guard from Florida.
Osiris Johnson.
That's the one. Osiris. It was a real short.
Sorry, I was thinking of Zion Johnson at the same time.
Yeah, like if we were to get him, that guy would be a massive contribution to the guard position. I think. Like, he is a natural guard. He's not a tackle trying to be a guard like we're trying to do with Tyler Smith. Tyler Smith is a tackle.
Yeah,
that's a fact.
Yeah,
like I don't. If that's one thing I just don't like, is shifting offensive linemen into a position they've really not perfected the craft, but worked their craft majority in one certain position. This is why Zach Martin is one of the best, because he refuses to play any other position but right guard. That's why he's one. That's why he's one of the best.
And the thing with Zach Martin, he played left tackle almost exclusively during his time at Notre Dame. So the comment here from Steve, in Tyra's tweet that Mike flagged up for the D-line is a good watch.
Mm.
If anyone hasn't seen or doesn't follow Mike, who is at Kenfic Cowboy, make sure you do. Mike is popping out great little articles every day of guys to watch.
Yeah, Mike is on fire right now. Go and follow Mike, like Brian said, at Kenfic Cowboy on Twitter. He's posting some really good insights to players that you may have never heard of before. Maybe it's worth watching. So I recommend you guys go and check that out on Twitter.
Yeah. And just pulling up another comment here. So Joseph obviously knows who knew that I would know this. The next year draft Hudson Card in 2024 from Purdue, who was transfer portal pickup from the University of Texas. He will be a guy who will be a career backup. And flipping back to what you said earlier, Paul, there about guys in the late round, I will not be surprised this year if the Cowboys take a quarterback in between round 5 and 7.
Yeah, I think that's now I can't even sit inevitable. I can't. Is that the right word? No, I don't. But yeah, you know what I mean. So, but yeah, I think it's kind of expected to like get someone other than Cooper Rush as well. Like, I think Cooper Rush will still be here. I think we just need that extra for a guy that like we did like the whole Ben DiNucci thing. He's now in the XFL. Yeah. There's the kid from Carolina we brought in,
Will Greer.
Yeah, I don't see it like he's a very like type of running style kind of quarterback. I don't see that being the case. But if we're going for West Coast offense, going to forward, don't see that working as much. So I think we probably will end up drafting the quarterback more suited for the West Coast type of style offense potentially.
Yeah.
But yeah.
This is a deep. I was going to say a wide receiver. It's a deep quarterback class.
Yeah,
there's a lot of guys there who you can pick up in those later rounds. I'm thinking of a guy like maybe Adrian Martinez. Mike will probably be screaming at me, no! But someone like that, there will be guys in that range, in that 5th to 7th round that you can pick up. You know, look at what San Francisco did with Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant.
And don't forget Tony Romo undrafted. Yeah. Don't forget the supposedly GOAT Tom Brady, like 199. So
you can get that.
It keeps going back to what I always say: the draft is a lottery. You just don't know. Like you can have all these measurements, stats, whatever, and that, but how you transition into the pros is a completely different story. Some late round players can easily transition more because of the steam or whatever and that. Some players, early round players that get drafted, the pressure might be too much for them and they can't produce the goods anymore. Like can't do it. It happens.
Yeah.
Like take Josh Rosen, prime example.
Yeah.
Like that guy was really like he was touted to be a really good quarterback, and he just couldn't handle it. He could not handle it at all.
I'll give you this one. Myself and Mike both called that he'd be a huge bust. Didn't get the hype, and never thought he'd make it. And I think he went 10th overall in his class.
Yeah, he was. I think that was Kyle Kingsbury's first ever draft pick.
No, that was
it not?
That was Kyler Murray. So he was drafted by the Cardinals.
Wasn't Kingsbury the head coach the year before that though?
I don't think he was. But again, open to correction on that one.
I'll double check. Just make sure we all get our facts straight. Right, so let me see. Josh Rosen. So while I'm looking that up, is there anything else we can mention before we go off?
Look, I think like that. Look, our off-season program, we do intend to go twice a week. We are looking to kind of Thursdays will be the more free agency, building the roster for next year. Tuesdays we will be looking at our project prospect, which will be reviewing some of the draft prospects in a bit more depth. So make sure you do tune in. As we said, myself and Paul said, we'd only do 25 to 30 minutes. It's an hour up now, Paul, at this stage.
I know I wasn't expecting us to last this long, to be honest.
Yeah. But as we say, this is the great thing is when you've comments flying in, and this is, as we say to you folks, we always love the comments. We always pull up what you're saying to us. So, you guys are the MVPs of this show.
No, you were right, Brian. It was the same year as Kyler Murray. You were right. Yeah. It was the previous coach that did it, or the GM.
Yeah. So look, as we said, Paul, we've got an hour out of it, and we'll start wrapping it up. So if I'll throw it over to you, and you can give the regular shout outs.
Yep.
So there we go.
Yes, guys, if you are planning on to a Dallas Cowboys game for 2023, be sure to go with cowboysexperience.com for meet and greets, stadium tours, game tickets, tailgating, and much, much more. Get to meet players like, as you can see on the screen here, Micah Parsons, Jay Novacek, Drew Pearson, Zach Martin, Travis Frederick, and many, many more.
Absolutely. And if you want to give the big one a shout out.
Yes, and also with our sponsor Cowboys Experience, we do have our travel package, which does include the game tickets, tours, the meet and greets, and much more, which could potentially include some college football in there as well. So be sure to go, but we are planning going Thanksgiving time this year. So that's when we're planning going. More information will be available on our Facebook group, and you can also contact Cowboys Experience for more information if you want to come along with us and hang about with our crazy selves.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing we would recommend for everybody is start booking your travel.
Get your flights booked as soon as possible, and work around that. Like recommendation, would be try and do a Tuesday to Tuesday. Because obviously the Thanksgiving game is going to be on the Thursday, and after that you've got the whole weekend for college, whatever and that. Do what you want, chill out after that. Just chill out with your friends on the Sunday for NFL Sundays, go at the bar, whatever and that. And that's what we're kind of looking at. We're doing the Tuesday to Tuesday of Thanksgiving week, over the Thanksgiving week, and it seems to be the cheapest day to travel in terms of flying anyway. So that's what we would recommend. And that's something I will be explaining on my my travel vlog I'm currently working on, based on last year, which is how much does it cost, how to save money when you're in Dallas, what type of bank card do you need, all the things to try and help save you guys some money and try and get more bang for your buck when you're over there. So, but let's do it.
And listen, if you want to give the final shout out, Paul.
Yes, guys, be sure to go and follow our fellow content creators. Like SB Nation's Blogging the Boys, where you can see Mike's articles and hear myself and the very beautiful Meg Murray talking about the world's team. You can also hear the official Cowboys.com channels like Handling the Boys, Talking Cowboys, The Break, Mixed Shots, Inspired. Mentioned there, Big Game James. You want to check them all out. And I think, Brian, you kind of went very loud on the outro movie.
Yeah. I was like, what's going on with that? So I'll try that now. There we go. That's a
there we go. But also, we will say, I don't know if you see the guys in the bottom corner, Cowboys Cans fan. Like we did mention, for the Thanksgiving weekend, it is going to be an international takeover. So we're going to have friends from Germany, from Spain, potentially, but Canada, the UK are going to represent the Cowboys, and it's going to be an international extravaganza for Thanksgiving this year.
I'm sure Stephen will probably be over from Irish Cowboys as well.
That would be great.
Yeah. So Stephen, if you're watching, make sure and get in touch with me, and we'll organise something. But as we say, look, Thursday night, 9 o'clock here in the UK and Ireland, 4 o'clock on the west or on the east coast, 3 o'clock Texas time, and 1 p.m. on the west coast of America. Mike, Paul, and the guys will be back to give you a rundown through some stuff like free agency and off-season priorities.
Yes.
But it is a good night from me, and Paul, I'll let you wrap it up.
It's a good night for me, and as always, Dallas forever, Philly for never.
Good night.
Yes, you're late, unfortunately, dude. We're gonna have to say goodbye again. But
Bye, Lebarski.
Bye, Lebarski.
I love you.